Shadeja says, hey, coach, what advice would you give to women that wants to feel seen, heard, and understood in their relations? Well, great question, my friend. Well, the first thing I would do is assess your motives. Assess your motives of why you want to be seen, heard, or understood. Because if you don't address the root issues, those unaddressed root issues could be the things altering your perspectives, because maybe you are seen, heard, or understood, but maybe not at the expectation level of your desire. And so if you're asking to be felt, seen, and heard in an unrealistic, from an unrealistic standpoint, then you're going to be weakening or straining your relationship with your significant other, causing them to just kind of bow out and not be emotionally invested because of the expectation. That's one element of it. The second element of it is, have you communicated this with your significant other? The cool thing about this is, first, you got to categorize this individual. Or we have to really assess where you at. If this is a boyfriend or fiance, and they're exhibiting poor levels of what you desired defaultly that you deserve to have, as far as like his business is consuming him, his other interests are consuming him, and no matter how bright you are, no matter how amazing you are, he still doesn't see you. He still doesn't feel you. He still doesn't understand you. The good thing is, he's just a boyfriend. He's just a fiance. And this is where you begin to assess the red flags and potentially avoid being dragged into a relationship or years down the road in the relationship, and you like, man, this thing was never good from the beginning. So the first thing is to assess your motives and intent and your expectations. The second thing is to, if your motives are right and you're just going off of your default desired things that should be given to you, then you got to assess, hey, is this a person I want to go forward with? So comment, Shadeja, let me know if this is a husband, a boyfriend, or is it family. Let me know what that is, because then that will give me different context in that. And so I'll wait till you comment on that. I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to wait till I see what context this is in. If it's family, whatever, then you got to assess your insecurities, your feelings of inadequacies, and ultimately you got to assess, I am seen, heard, and understood in my relationship with God. Because it doesn't matter if you've seen, heard, or understood in any other relationship. That cannot be the relationship you gain source from. They are a resource. You have to be so resourced in God that you live as a heard, felt, and understood woman of God. That right there will neutralize any type of demonic infiltration from the individual that was once a trigger. Because the devil loves using our hopes, desires, and expectations. He loves using the individuals that we desire them the most from to not provide much of all from it, and then we fall from it. But when you tap into your relationship with God, whether you're married, if it's a friend, if it's whoever, you can walk in your own self-sufficient energy that is synergized with the sufficiency of Christ in your life, because you know for a fact, my God hears me, my God feels me, my God understands me. The Bible says we have a high priest who understands. The Bible says that Jesus was tempted at every point. The beautiful thing about that is that if you look at all the temptations that Jesus went through, they were point temptations. Jesus wasn't tempted to be gay. He wasn't tempted to sleep with a woman. He wasn't tempted, but he was tempted to turn stone into bread. That is the point of the valley of that temptation. He wasn't tempted to be necessarily validated by others or whatever. He was tempted for people to see his glory. So let me break this down. The 3 points of the temptations that Jesus went through was prevalent in 3 or 2 other texts. The Bible says he was tempted to turn stone into bread. That's lust of the flesh. He was tempted to jump off a high place and have thousands of angels to get him in front of all these people, he was tempted to be seen. The third temptation was to bow down to Satan, and that Satan will give him kings or whatever. He was tempted to desire this life, right? Now, where else were those two things found? The first place was in Genesis. When the Bible says Eve looked at the tree or the fruit and saw that it was good for food, lust of the flesh, that it was good to the eyes, lust of the eye, and it was enough to make desirable to make one wise, the pride of life. The Bible says in 1 John, I believe, love not the world, neither things that are in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life, these things are of the world, and the world in of itself is passing away. So you see that Jesus, from Eve to us, from Eve, Adam to us, he was tempted at every point so that he can say, hey, I know what you're going through. I may not have gone through the exact thing, but I was tempted at the peak of that. And he was saying most of you all will never be tempted at the peaks of what I was tempted. So if I can handle the peaks, it is naturally assumed that I could have handled the valley sins. So now when you know that you have a high priest that knows what it's like to try to turn a situation into something that you can feast off of and enjoy, or to be seen by others. Maybe you're being tempted right now with the lust of the eyes. But when you understand that God, you the apple of God's eye, that you were set before him, that helped him to endure the cross despite its shame, then when you have that revelation of the life of Jesus and the power of the gospel, then you'll be like, you know what? Whether you see, feel, or understand me or not, I am felt, seen, and understood by the Most High right now. And when you embrace that, then it will cause you to see yourself, to feel yourself, and to understand yourself. If those two things are not happening, where you're not at a place where you feel seen, feel heard, and feel understood by God, which then causes you to see yourself, feel yourself, and seeing yourself, meaning you're able to see your blind spots and holes. You're able to see the goodness of God working through you. You're able to see the giftings in you. When you begin to see those different things in you, it creates a sufficient a river of excitement, joy, and anticipation. And then when you feel yourself, you're able to self-regulate, regulate your own emotions, because you know what you feel and what triggers you. And then the more you understand yourself, you're like, man, I am made for such a time as this. Then you will not need to feel seen, heard, or understood from anyone, because it is already supplied and self-sufficient. You may want it, but you don't need it. So now you have to ask yourself, do I want this or do I need this? If you need it, then you got to intercede or feed in these other areas and really begin to see, is it father issues, mother issues, abandonment issues, rejection issues, insecurity issues. And then you got to work those things out by God, because that is only going to set you up to even be more attacked or even more consumed by whether or not these people see you or not. Hope to help.